What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in, give it some lighting effects. My vision is, because I see a bit of highlight here, I want to give it a lens flare feel. And then I want to, you know, when you shoot sometimes and there's like lit buildings or whatever in the background, and it will give you those large bokeh balls effects if there's light back there. I want to add that into the photo too. Just some more sophisticated lighting. I mean, this looks great, but I just want to take it and give it my signature style with complexity of lighting and bokeh balls and all that kind of stuff. I love it. So I'm going to edit in Exposure X5. It should bring up a dialog box like here. It says edit a copy with the Lightroom adjustments, right? So when I see this image, I want to edit this image exactly, because I made some adjustments over here. You can see that, into exposure. I don't want to edit on the original. I want to edit on the copy of an original, just in case something goes wrong or I don't like it. I have the original. I can always go back to this image if it doesn't turn out, which I like. Or my client might like it more clean like that versus all my lighting effects. Everybody has their own personal style, so it's good to have different versions of it. I'm going to add another layer on top of the original layer, because this way I can add my lighting effects, and two, I can change the opacity of it to fine-tune the effect that I want to give, right? So I always make another layer and I can control my effects. So if I'm putting 3 lighting effects on here, I want 3 different layers, so I can individually control each layer and the opacity. So I open up the document, add a layer, then I'm going to add my lighting effects. As you can see, it's in overlays. So if you go to the overlay, you're going to see some lighting effects there. And I'm going to select that. And you're going to see a bunch of lighting effects. And the one I like is under sun flare. Go to sun flare, and I believe it's this one right here. I like this little circle thing. And now I can move it. I can move the position of it. So I'm going to kind of fade this up because I don't want it super strong. I'm going to move it right about here, and I'm going to zoom it to make that circle a bit bigger. Okay, there it is, like that. That's my lighting effect. Now what I'm going to do is add another lighting effect. I can adjust the opacity of this, so I can bring it down to 0 and add it. A lot of times I like looking at it in this small thumbnail. This thumbnail gives you an idea of what is actually seen first. So when you look at it at the thumbnail, what it is making sure that you're not too aggressive with your effect. So that looks good at the thumbnail. That is at 74%, 73%, around there. Now, what I like to do also is take this mask, and I like to get rid of that effect right at the eyes and the face, because I always like to keep that sharp. So I'm going to adjust the size of this brush, and I'm doing this with the scroll button on my mouse. I'm going to hit the option button, and I'm just going to paint. See how I can keep that sharpness right there? So that's my little secret. A lot of people ask me, oh, you still have the sharpness in your photos. How do you do that? Well, I just mask it out, and there it is. Keep that sharpness there. Now I'm going to add another layer, and my vision is to have these bokeh balls here as if there was some land over here and there were some buildings with lights on, and when you shoot with a low f-stop and a semi-long lens, you're going to get these nice beautiful bokeh balls across the horizon here. So I'm going to add another effect, and I'm going to look at my own lighting effects. And let me see if I can create that effect in here. I kind of like that down here. This works too. Okay, I like this one here. I know it's a little bit crazy, but I can paint it out. So I'm going to paint out that effect here and here. So I'm going to hold the Option key out and just paint away the effect. I just want to see those lights at the horizon, really. And I'm going to get rid of it. Usually I don't like that effect over the skin. So if I see something over this, because I like to have the subject be prominent, and so I am gonna paint out everything that's over the skin so you don't see it and it doesn't get in the way of my subject, so the subject looks beautiful as possible here. Just gonna paint it all out. So what I'm going to do, this is kind of tricky here, I'm going to paint that in there and then I'm going to add a little bit later. And I can kind of paint out this to here, back here. Keep that richness of that sky in. I don't want to dilute the sky too much because I have a lot of color in the clouds that I added in there. So I want to make sure that I keep that. So it definitely has that feel that I'm shooting into a city. City lights back there. That's kind of the feel that I want. It's definitely an art form, just in painting. So take your time, experiment. Add a little bit back here. Okay, now I can just go ahead and fade that. And again, I like to look at this small one here because you really see what comes into effect first when you look at the small thumbnail of it. I'm going to start it off at 0 and I'm looking at the small icon and kind of choosing the effect that I want. Right about there is good. Just a hint of it. All right, so I've added a lens flare in there. That works because I had some backlight right here, and so that was cool. I may actually want to go back into that lens flare and take out some more. I don't want to lose that color. And again, what I can do too is take down the effect. It's at 73%. Could definitely bring it down some more. So it's just a very subtle effect here. That way I can still kind of see these clouds back here. And that's cool. 46%. And a lot of times you'll have to do something, come back to it and look at it, do it, because you're kind of not sure when you first do it. And you gotta have to go away from it, come back to it and see how it feels. And sometimes you'll have to just tweak it according, and I'm constantly re-editing the image all the time, even after doing this for 20 years. But I like how this is now. And I've added the lens flare and I've added the bokeh balls in the back. And I'm going to hit the save button and it's going to bring me back into Lightroom. And now I have two versions. I have the Photoshop version. If I like that, I can keep that. And then I have the lens flare version. And it's so easy to do in exposure. You see, it's a couple clicks here and there. You can add that effect. You can take some things away. And it just makes it a little bit different than everybody else's. And that's kind of like my signature style, is this complex lighting feel to all my work, because I am cognitive of backlight, and I do like to have nice light on my subject. And so when I add these lighting effects, it doesn't look out of the ordinary because that backlight is there and because I'm using nice lighting. So everything works together, and because I love lighting, when I add lighting effects to it, it still looks good. You can also do that with your imagery. I just showed you how to do it. To conclude, I just showed you how to add a sky, and when it's over water, you have to create a reflection so it looks believable. And then I showed you how to add light textures in exposure. So I'm using 3 programs: Lightroom, Photoshop, and Alien Skin Exposure to give me the look that I want quickly and easily. I hope you like these methods. You can efficiently add skies and textures doing these techniques, and I have a lot more to show you with post-processing.